Hi everyone, this is the second video for week 5 multi-user operating systems, and this time we're going to focus on the Linux commands for communication. So Linux actually has a number of secure tools built into the system that allow communication between users of the system, and obviously that's something that's really important. If we're all sharing and accessing the same resources, it can be a huge benefit to be able to communicate with other users on the system. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how we can simulate multiple users. Okay, let's get rid of that. So I'm just going to log in as the root user. Now obviously this is a virtual environment, so we have to just try and simulate things as best as we can. But one of the things we can actually do is, at the moment we have got one shell open, so one terminal, and I'm logged in as root in that terminal. What we can actually do is we can actually open additional terminals. So to open an additional terminal, I'm going to show you how to do that today. The reason being, we can open additional terminals and log into those as different users. So what it means then is that we can actually send messages between users by basically simulating these multiple terminals. So the first thing you need to do is we need to set up a few things in order to enable us to launch multiple terminals. So if you've not, you might already have this set up, but I'd advise you check. So first of all, we need to check and see that the host key has been set up. The host key is basically the sort of magical control key for your virtual environment. So we need to go into File, Preferences, and then into Input. And then if we look at host key, so if you see here, host key is the right control key. Now what it means by right control is, if you look at your computer keyboard, along the bottom of your keyboard you'll see on the left hand side there's a control key, and on the right hand side there's a control key. So it literally means that your magic key is the control key on the right hand side of the keyboard. Okay, so mine's is set up, so I'm just going to cancel that. I don't need to do anything there. The next thing you need to check is that your keyboard has been captured by the operating system, by the virtual environment. So to do that, you go down to the bottom of your terminal, and if you hover over this wee downwards arrow, you'll see that if it's set to black, the keyboard is not captured, and if it's set to green, the keyboard is captured. And you can switch between the two of them. If you click on that, it'll actually let you switch between the two of them. So by default it should be captured when it loads up. So basically what that means is that the right control key, because it's captured by the virtual environment, it means it's got its special magical properties. Okay, so once we've got that set up, to switch between terminals, you press your right control key, hold it down, and by default the terminal you're in just now is your number 1 terminal. So to switch to another one, you use your function keys along the top. So you hold down the right control key and you press F2, and you'll see it looks like it's switched to another terminal. So the one we were in is still there in the background, but now we're in terminal 2. So just to repeat that, that was me holding down the control key and at the same time pressing F2. So in this terminal I'm going to log in as another user. So I'm going to log in as my Don Wilson user, and you guys should have created another user as well. Remember, if you want to create multiple users, go back a couple of weeks and look at the slides for the add user command that shows you how to add a user, and you can add as many users as you want. So I'm now logged into this terminal as Don Wilson. I'm now going to launch a third terminal. So again, I'm going to press the control key, hold it down, the right control key, and F3. And you'll see again it's launched another terminal. If you have a wee look at the top, you'll see that it actually gives you the name of the terminal. So the terminals are given the names TTY. So I'm now in TTY 3. So this one I'm going to log in as another user that I've created called student. Oh, I don't quite know what password I typed in. Wrong one. Too much talking. Okay, let me do that again. Stop talking that time. There we go. So now I've got 3 terminals, so I can switch between them. It depends on how your environment's set up, but my Alt key also works as well as my right control key. So I can actually do Alt F1, Alt F2 and Alt F3 as well as doing right control F1, right control F2, right control F3. But your host key should definitely work. Right, so I'm just going to hit my host key in F1. There you go, back to the root. Host key F2. I am back to terminal 2, and F3, I'm back to terminal 3. So I've now got 3 terminals logged in. Unfortunately, you can't have them all separate side by side on the screen. That's the only downside. You have to actually switch between them. Let's go back to my root one, so F1. So if I now type the who command, which tells me who is logged into the system, you'll see that it acknowledges the fact there's now 3 of us logged into the system. So it's 3 terminals using this virtual server. So got the login name, so root Don Wilson student. I've got the terminal identifier, so terminal TTY1, 2 and 3, and then when they logged in, the time, date stamp they logged in. Okay, so we're talking about communication here. So I want to communicate with all these people that are logged into this server. One of the very basic ways of communicating is that actually each terminal has got its own device file. And if we write to the terminal's device file, then whatever message we write to that file will appear on that terminal. So I'm just going to give you an example of how to do that. So remember, to write to a file, we've learned, so far what we've learned is to use a cat command. So remember cat, and then we redirect it to a file. So the device files, all device files are located in /dev, and then / and then the name of the terminal. So say I want to send a message to Don Wilson's terminal. So Don Wilson is on TTY2. And then I just hit return, type in my message. So I'm just going to say, hi Don Wilson. Once I'm finished, Control D to end the message. So I now want to go and look and see if that's appeared on Don Wilson's terminal. So Don Wilson is on terminal 2. So I'm going to do right Control F2 to switch to the F2 terminal. And there you go, you can see at the command prompt the message that I just typed has appeared. So it has appeared on the terminal. So that's one of the basic ways of doing it, to send commands. But obviously you would need to know what terminal the user was logged into. But one of the simple ways of doing it. Right, I'm just going to go back, switch it back to my first terminal, back to root. So another command that we can use to write onto someone's terminal is a command called write. So write is another command that we can use for communication. Now to use write, we need to know the login ID of the person. So this time we need to know the login IDs I've got of my users are Don Wilson student. So let's write to the student this time. So I'm going to say write a message to the person logged in as student. Now you'll notice that as the root user, by default, it's telling me I've got write permission turned off. What that means is that I'm not allowing anybody to write to me. So I'm not allowing anyone to write a message to my root terminal. So anybody can switch their messages on and off. So if people are really annoying you and sending you messages on your screen all the time, then you can switch the messaging off. And to do that, you type in MESG space and then either yes to switch it on or no to switch it off. The details of that are in the slides, just in case you forget. Okay, so I'm writing a message to the student. So this time I'm going to say hello student, and then Control D to finish my message. Now I'm going to switch to the student's terminal. So they're in terminal 3. So right Control F3, and you'll see at the bottom of the screen it says hello student. So my message has been sent. EOF just stands for end of file. That's it. Okay, so that's the write command. So pretty straightforward, those two commands. So that's if you want to urgently send someone a message that literally pops up in their face, so it appears right on their terminal. Now that's fine for wee short messages, but you have to be aware that people can do this and type in to switch their messaging off, so it might not reach them. So let's go back to root again, F1. Okay, so a more comprehensive way of communication is using mail. So Linux does have its own mail utility, and the mail utility has the command mail. Now by default, this installation that I've given you doesn't actually have the mail utility installed. Or that's not true. The package is there, but it's not been set up and installed. So you do have it, but it won't, if you type in mail right now at your command prompt, it won't work. It won't be able to find it. So what I have done is I've given you instructions of how to install it. It's on slide 29 of the lecture slides. It's really straightforward. It's one single command installs it. But you must be logged in as a root user to issue the command. Okay, so make sure you're logged in as root and type the command given in the slides. It's just one single command, and then a whole load of stuff will appear on your screen as it installs all the different packages, and then the command prompt will eventually return, and then you'll be able to use the mail utility. So let's have a go then at using the mail utility. So the mail utility actually works in two modes. It works in the compose mode, where you actually want to use it to write a message, and it works in command mode, where you want to use it to actually manage your mail. So in other words, read it, delete it, reply to mails, etc. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to learn how to use it in compose mode. So we're going to learn how to write an email. So to write an email, you can actually do it in two ways. You can either do it interactively, so you can use the command in an interactive way, so it'll ask you for each bit of information in order to put the message together and then send it. Or you can create the message fully in one single command on the command line. So let's first of all look at using it in interactive mode. So using it in interactive mode, you need to use the command mail, and you have to give it the recipient's name. So this would be the login ID of the person, or if they've got an email address set up on the system, then you can use their email address. So I'm going to send a mail to Don Wilson. So this is interactive mode. So I've not told it what message to send or any details like that, so it's going to ask me to fill all that information in. So when I hit return, scroll it down a bit so you can see, it asks me if I want to CC somebody. If you don't, just hit return. It then asks me for a subject. This is a test, and then it basically wants me to now type in my message. So I'm going to say, hi Don Wilson, this is a test email. Okay, and once I'm finished, just like all the other commands where we type in messages, Control D to say I'm finished, and the command prompt will come back. So what that will now do is it will send that email to Don Wilson. So that's the interactive mode. So by interactive, what I mean is it asks me for a CC, it then asks me for a subject, and then it asks me to type in the message. Now interactive mode's fine if you're sitting at the terminal and you can interact with it, but say you wanted to send an email to someone inside one of your programs. So obviously if the program's running, there's nobody there to interact. So if you don't want to use it interactively, you can use the mail command on the command line. So in order to do that, first of all, you need to have your message stored somewhere. So I have, let me just check that it is here. I think I've got a wee message stored in a file just called message. I do. So let's have a look. More message. So yeah, so I've got a wee message in a file that just says, hello, this is me. So as long as you get your message text stored somewhere, you can now send it just using a single command. So still use the command mail. Use it with the option -s if you want to add a subject. So I'm going to say second test message. And who I want to send it to. So I'm going to send it to Don Wilson again. And then finally I need to give it the actual message to send. So we're going to use the redirection symbols. We've used these before. So with the cat command, we always redirect that out to a file. So this time I'm going to use the redirection symbol, but pointing in the opposite way. So this is actually saying redirect into this command. So what information I want to pass into the command is the file where my message is. So my file is called message. So basically what this says is, it says send a message to Don Wilson with the subject, second test message, and the contents will be whatever is taken from the message file. And then you just hit return. So there's no interaction there at all. prompt just came back. So we should now have sent 2 emails. One we did it interactively, one we did it all on the command line. Now there's loads more options which you can explore are in the slides. So you can send the message to multiple recipients. So I showed you how to do that in the slides. You can also specify your CC on the command line as well. Again, you just set the option and put in the details of the person you want to CC it to. So there's loads and loads of different options, and if you really want to see everything about the mail command, then you can look up the man pages to get all the information. So I've shown you how to write an email interactively and how to do it on the command line. So now let's go and actually read those emails. So the emails have been sent to Don Wilson, so I'm going to switch to Don Wilson's terminal, which is terminal 2. So right control F2, and let me just scroll up so we can see where we are. There it is. So now I'm logged in as Don Wilson. So to use the mail command in the other mode, so in the command mode, you just simply type mail and hit return. So what this does is it basically shows you your inbox. All your messages are stored in /var/mail/ whatever your username is. So you can go and CD into that location and look at them. So you can see there's the 2 messages that I sent. So it tells you where they came from. Each message is given a number. So I've got number 1 and number 2. They both came from the root user. It gives you the date of when they were sent. And it shows you the subject. Now at the start, you'll see there's a capital N. N just means it's new. So the message is new, it's unread. And the wee arrow to the left basically is just pointing at the message you're currently looking at. So the command prompt in this mail utility is a question mark. Now in the slides you'll see that I've said it's an ampersand. Some versions it's an ampersand, some versions it's a question mark. So the previous version of Debian it was an ampersand. This version appears to be a question mark, but if you have a look at a lot of the stuff on the web, you'll see that the majority of the time the prompt is an ampersand. It's not really relevant, but just to kind of point that out. So if I want to read a message, I just simply put in the number of the message I want to read. So I want to read message 1, and it displays everything about message 1 to me. So the subject, who it came from, the date, and then the content. So there's the content there. Hi Don Wilson, this is a test email. So that's me read message 1. If I want to read the second one, I can put in number 2. So there's the second email. If I want to delete the message, then I can just do D for delete, and let's say I want to delete message 1, so I would just do D1 and it will delete message 1. If you want to get a list of all the things you can do, there's lots of different commands that you can use in the mail utility. There's a whole load of them listed in the slides, but if you want to see them, then if you just type question mark at the question mark, then it'll give you a list. So you can see here it tells you all the things you can type, and just press spacebar to scroll through them all. So you can type all those things at the command prompt. But that's probably as much as you'd want to do. Read them. If you want to quit, yeah, that's a good point. Q to quit, because everybody always ends up going into the mail and then can't get back out of it again. So if I go back in, I deleted my messages, so there's now nothing left in there. So you can see it just comes back. So if you don't have any mail, it doesn't open your inbox. It just says you've got no mail. Okay. Right, that pretty much covers the mail command. So that's good for what we've looked at so far is sort of personal messages to specific users. So using the cat command to write to a terminal that a user's on, using the write command to write to a particular user, and using the mail utility to write to a particular user. Sometimes though, as a sysadmin, you want to communicate to all of your users that are logged into the server, especially if there's something really important and urgent you want to tell them. So say for instance there was some rogue process that the sysadmin was having problems killing, then the server might have to be rebooted. But obviously there's lots of people on that server, so you might want to send them out a wee warning message to let them know, just to let you know in 5 minutes time this server is going to be rebooted. So in that situation you want to quickly get a communication out to everybody that's logged in. So one of the ways we can do that is we can use a command called the wall command. Now you have to be sysadmin, so I'm just going to switch back, Control F1. So I'm back in my root terminal, so I'm back as a sysadmin. So the wall command basically stands for write all, and literally it will post whatever message you type in, it'll post it to everyone that's logged in the system. It'll just appear on their terminal right in front of them. So I'm just going to hit wall, and then I can put in my message. So server will be rebooted in 5 minutes. Oh, I can't spell. 5 minutes. Please save all work. Okay, Control D again, just to stop. So it shows the message everywhere, including on its own terminal. So let's switch to terminal 2. So all Control F2. So there you go, you can see broadcast message from root, and then there's the message. And then let's switch to terminal 3. So that's us on terminal 3 again, saying there's been a message from root in terminal 1. So it has broadcast it to every single terminal. So pretty useful for things that you urgently need to communicate. Let's go back to the root user again. Okay. Sometimes you want to make all your users aware of something that's going to happen, but it's not urgent, but you want them to be aware of it. So a good example of that, say you were going to do planned system downtime for maintenance, say on a Friday afternoon. So you want to basically let everybody know that this is happening. So what we can do is we can set up a message that appears when the users log in to the server. So every time the user logs in, this message will appear. So it's referred to as the message of the day. So not match of the day. The command is motd, or it's referred to as motd, but it stands for message of the day. And basically, if you set up a message of the day, that will appear every time the user logs in, just at the login step. And I'll show you an example of how that works. Again, only the sysadministrator can do this, so you have to be root. So to actually, the message of the day is actually just a file. And the file is in /etc/motd. So all we need to do is we need to just put our message into that file. So again, let's use the cat command and redirect it into that special file. So /etc/motd. You will not be allowed to edit this file unless you are root user. So let's say planned maintenance on Friday at 3 PM. Okay, so that's my message. Again, Control D. So let's see how this works. So let's go to terminal, the second terminal. Okay, so now I'm Dawn Wilson. So I'm just going to log out because the message doesn't appear, it only appears when you log in. So I've just said exit to log out. Back up here. So I'm going to log back in again as Dawn Wilson. Dawn Wilson. Oh, not twice, just once. Dawn Wilson. Dawn. Okay. So you'll see, if you look at what's just come up on the screen, it shows you the message. So planned maintenance on Friday at 3 PM. So it appears when you log in. And the same, if I logged out and logged back in again, I would get it every single time, which is quite useful. So it's a good wee reminder. There you go. So that's the message of the day. So that concludes all of the communication stuff. So lots of different ways to communicate directly to individuals and also broadcast messages as well. Last thing I want to cover, which is in the slides, is the history command. So the history command basically allows us to look at the history of all the commands we have ran since we've been logged in. So let's go back to terminal 1 as a root user, because that's where I've been doing most of the stuff. Okay, back to the prompt. So history, if I just type history and hit enter, it gives me a huge list. So since I logged in this morning, I've executed 182 commands. Now, the thing is, you're probably going to say, well, I can't see all of them because I've scrolled up off the screen. So even if I scroll all the way up, I'm only seeing as far back as 147. So a wee top tip, if you want to see everything, history, and pipe it to more. So basically pass the output into the more command. And remember, more shows us things one page at a time. So if I hit return and scroll up to the top of my terminal, you'll see I can see the very first command. So right way back, add a user called lecturer. There you go. And then if you want to just page down, you hit the space bar. So I can page down through all of my history. So you can see with the history, it basically shows the command that was typed, and each command is given a number. If you want to repeat a command, you guys already know some of this, you can press your up arrow and keep pressing up to scroll through all your previous commands, or down if you want to come back again. Also, to repeat a command, your previous command, you can hit 2 exclamation marks. So let me first of all actually put in a command that I would like to repeat. So let's do pwd. Okay, so if I want to repeat it, I can go up and hit return, or I can do 2 exclamation marks, no, exclamation marks, and hit return, and it will also rerun it. I can do exclamation mark -1 to go back one and repeat it, and Control P also repeats. So just P for previous, also repeats a previous command, and you can hit Control P and return as well. So lots of ways you can repeat a command. If you want to go back though and repeat a specific command, then you can use the number to repeat that command. So let's just do history, pipe it to more, to see all my previous commands and see if there's something interesting. So there's number 32 is a clear command, which just clears the screen. So if I want to repeat that, it would take me a long time to up arrow all the way back. So instead, I'm just going to do Q to quit out of that. I am going to put in an exclamation mark and then the number 32. And you can see it has cleared the screen. It just runs the command and clears the screen. Another way you can repeat a command, if it was a wee while ago, you can use Control R to repeat. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to search for a command if you know the first few characters. So let's go, gosh, there you go. I started typing in CL for clear and it came up with suggestions. So it's found the clear command. So you just basically Control R and then start typing the first few characters, and then it will show you commands that match that, and then you can just hit, if you want to do it, execute it, you just hit return and it'll actually run that command. So it's pretty useful to save you lots of typing, especially if you're doing some really complex things on the command line. You don't want to have to keep retyping them. If you want to, you can actually clear out your history. So at the moment I've got 100 and odd, let me just check again, history, 100 and a lot anyway, 192. So I want to clear it, you do history-C. Now if I type history, I won't have any history. I've only got one, which is the actual history command itself. So again, you might decide you want to clear it out for some reason. Okay, so that concludes this video and the videos for week 5. So please have a go at the activities. If you're struggling, the solutions are there. Try them first without the solutions. If you're struggling, have a wee look at the solutions and play around with it. Okay.